He is a renowned English poet, author, and civil servant, widely regarded as the father of English literature. Born in London in the late 14th century, Chaucer is best known for his magnum opus, the Canterbury Tales, which is a collection of stories told by a diverse group of pilgrims on their way to the shrine of Saint Thomas Becket in Canterbury. This is an unfinished poem written between 1387 and 1400. So, the general prologue in the Canterbury Tales by Geoffrey Chaucer serves as the introductory section of the collection. It sets the stage for the storytelling contest among a group of pilgrims traveling to the shrine of Thomas Becket in Canterbury. This prologue not only introduces the frame story but also provides detailed description of each pilgrim, reflecting a cross-section of medieval society. Additionally, it establishes the structure of the tales, where each pilgrim will tell two stories on the way to Canterbury and two on the way back, with the best storyteller earning a free medal upon their return. First, the opening section of the prologue. The general prologue opens with the description of revival of spring. The reason for this could be understood as the background for the people to go on a pilgrimage. The theme was not new but a conventional. One should always keep in mind that the use of conventional theme in the medieval period was not considered as weakness but strength. The beginning of the introduction situates the story in a particular time and space, but what Chaucer is intending is to create a cosmic and cyclic environment. In order to celebrate the vitality and richness of the spring, due to this attempt, what we get is the dreamy and timeless atmosphere, and there is a sense of shock when we are told that the story being presented to us is about a pilgrimage that the writer himself was a part of rather than a romantic tale full of fantasy. Another thing to be noticed in the introduction is the various references to the astrology and mythology made by Chaucer. We are told that sun is coming out of Aries, the first sign of zodiac, and is the early part of its annual course. Similarly, we witness other reference to the highly believed astrology of the era in the opening of the general prologues. Next, we will discuss the portraits. It's general prologue that serves to establish firmly the framework for the entire story collection, the pilgrimage that risks being turned into a tale-telling competition. The title, General Prologue, is a modern invention, although few manuscripts call it Prologus. There are very few major textual differences between the various manuscripts. The structure of the general prologue is a simple one. After an elaborate introduction in lines 1 to 34, the narrator begins the series of portraits, that is from line 35 to 719. These are followed by a report of the host's suggestion of a tale-telling contest and his acceptance, line 720 to 821. One of the following morning, the pilgrims assemble, and it is decided that the knight shall tell the first tale, that lines between 822 to 858. Chaucer, the narrator, begins the description of the characters with the knight. The knight is the picture of a professional soldier, comes straight from the foreign wars with clothes all stained from his armor. His travels are remarkably vast. He has fought in Prussia, Lithuania, Russia, Spain, North Africa, and Turkey against pagan Moors and Saracens, killing many. The variety of lords for whom he has fought suggests that he is some kind of mercenary, but it seems that Chaucer may have known people at the English court with similar record. The narrator insists he was a very perfect, gentle knight. But some modern readers, ill at ease with idealized warriors and doubtful about the value of narrator's enthusiasm, and have questioned this evaluation. His son, the squire, is by contrast an elegant young man about the court, with fashionable clothes and romantic skills of singing and dancing. The yeoman is a skilled servant in charge of the knight's land. His dress is described in detail but not his character. The prioress is one of the most fully described pilgrims, and it is with her that we first notice the narrator's refusal to judge the value of what he sees. Her portrait is more concerned with how she eats than how she prays. She is rather too kind to animals, while there is no mention of her kindness to people. Finally, she has a costly set of beads around her arm, which should be used for prayer, but end in a brooch inscribed ambiguously Amor Vincit Omnia. That means Virgil's love conquers all. She has a nun with her and 3 priests. This is a problem in coming. The total number of pilgrims has 29. The word 3 must have been added later on account of the rhyme, while only one nun's priest is in fact given a tale, and he is not the subject of a portrait here. The monk continues the series of incongruous church people. In this description, the narrational voice often seems to be echoing the monk's home. He does not respect his monastic rule, but he goes hunting instead of praying. The narrator expresses surprisingly strong support for the monk's chosen style of living. The friar follows, and by now it seems clear that the Chaucer has a special interest in church people who so confidently live in contradiction with what is expected of them. The narrator, though, gives no sign of feeling any problem as when of lepers and beggars. By this point, the alert reader is alert to the narrator's too ready use of odi, but critics are still unsure what Chaucer's intended strategy was here. The merchant is briefly described and is followed by the clerk of Oxford, who is a sincere student as could be wished, poor, skinny like his horse, and book loving. The sergeant at law is an expert lawyer, and with him is the Franklin, a gentleman from country whose main interest is food. It snowed in his house of meat and drink. Then Chaucer adds a brief list of 5 tradesmen belonging to the same fraternity, dressed in its uniform: a haberdasher, a carpenter, a weaver, a dyer, and a tapestry maker. None of these is described here or given tale to tale later. They have buzzed their cook with them. He is an expert. His skills are listed, as well as some unexpected personal detail. The shipman who described the next is expert at selling and at stealing the wine his passengers bring with them. He is also a dangerous character, perhaps a pirate. The doctor of physics is praised by the narrator. He was a very fit practitioner, and there follows a list of 15 main masters of the medieval medicine. The fact that he, like most doctors in satire, loved gold in special, he added in at the end. The wife of Bath is the only woman beside the prioress and her companion Noon on his pilgrimage. Again, the narrator is positive. She was a worthy woman all her life, and he glides quickly over the thousand of latter figure in such detail in her prologue, where also we may read how she became deaf. She is a businesswoman of strong self-importance, and her elaborate dress in sign of her character as well as her wealth. From her we pass to the most clearly idealized portrait in prologue, the parson. While the previous churchmen were all interested things of this world more than in true Christianity, the parson represents the opposite pole. He is accompanied by his equally idealized brother, the plowman, a true swinger, living in peace and perfect charity. If the parson is the model churchman, the plowman is the model Christian. As in pious plowman, one who is ready to help the poor, it is sometimes suggested that the choice of a plowman shows that Chaucer had read a version of pious plowman. The series then ends with mixed group of people, of whom most of quite terribly. The miller is a kind of ugly thug without charm. The manciple is praised as a skillful steward in a household lawyers. They are clever man, but is cleverest since he cheats them all. The narrator cheerfully tells us the reeve is the manager of a farm and he too is lining his own pocket. Last we learn the summoner and the pardoner, two grotesque figures on the edge of the church, living by without being priests. One administrator the church courts, the other sells pardons. Children are afraid of Summoner's face. He is suffering from some kind of skin disease. He is corrupt, as the narrator tells us, after naively saying, "A better fellow should men not find." But it is the partner who is really odd, and modern critics have enjoyed discussing just what a mayor. What Chaucer meant by saying, "I trow he were a gilding or a mayor," with his collection of pigs, bones in a glass that he uses as relics of saint to delude simple poor people. He is a monster in every way, and he concludes the list of pilgrims. The narrator of this prologue is Chaucer, but this pilgrim Chaucer is not too simply identified with author Chaucer. He explained that in what follows he is only acting the faithful reporter of what others have said, without adding or omitting anything. He must not them blamed or for what he reports. Neither must be blamed if he does not put in the order of their social rank. My wit is short. Ye may well understand this persona continues to profess the utter naively that we have already noted in his uncritical description of the pilgrims. The concluding section. Once we are given the description of the pilgrims, Chaucer takes us back to the Tabarin, where he was joined by 29 other pilgrims. Before proceeding any further, Chaucer attempts to seek apology for coarseness of his bourgeois style. He cites from the Bible and Plato's Timaeus 29b to support his argument about establishing the close relationship between the form and the content of the writing. The host of the Tabarin decides to go with them, and ironically, it is he, not Chaucer, who proposes the storytelling contest that gives the framework of the tales, will also the ultimate judge of which is the best sentence and most solace. He is, after all, well prepared by his job, know about the tales people tell. One model for the literary competition would seem to be meetings of people interested in poetry, known in French as with which Chaucer would have been familiar. Thank you.